right. Thank you for staying with Daybreak. We start that conversation right now. We'll take a look at the dailies first and then get into the devolution and politics conversation. His Excellency James Ongwae is here with me. Kisii Governor, thank you for making time. His Excellency Professor Anyang' Nyong'o is also joining us online from Kisumu. We're still waiting for His Excellency Hilary Barachok from Bomet to also join in. As soon as he comes in, we'll usher him in. But let's start off with the dailies really quick. Raila Ruto fate in Kalonzo's hands. Mudavadi, Ruto, hand Uhuru and Raila shock defeat. That's on the both Daily and Daily Nation and the Standard there. After Mudavadi's earthquake, the spotlight now turns to wipe a leader. Whichever way he plays his cards will have a major impact on former PM and DP's fortunes at the ballot. Where will he place his bet? Professor Nyong'o, let me start with you on this. What was your reaction when you saw Musalia Mudavadi's move? Were you surprised by it?
Well, I wasn't really surprised. I mean, first, it wasn't a move that was earth-shaking as he had announced it. I think there were just two ways he could go. Either go to Mudavadi or come to Azimio, and he chose to go to the other side. The rest really were just justifications of the reasons why he did that. The convincing justifications, but justifications nonetheless. So I really wasn't really shocked. Okay.
Governor Ongwae, were you shocked by the move?
No, I wasn't shocked at all. If you looked at his behavior over the last, I think 4 to 5 to 6 months, you would almost see that he was going to move towards that direction. In my own opinion, even not necessarily at least moving this early, he would have moved much later. But you would see his body language, really.
Yeah.
And in my own thinking, whatever dalliance that they had with the Right Honourable Prime Minister probably was just wasting time for the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Because you were part of the team that were allegedly trying to talk to him to come to the Azimio side. Is there any truth on that, or there were no negotiations at any given point?
I do not know of any negotiations that took place. I don't think there were any negotiations. I doubt whether even the Prime Minister actually talked to him. What one would see from the Prime Minister was a person who was just friendly to him.
Okay. Governor Nyong'o, has this affected the Azimio la Umoja movement in any way? Because there were also those who were saying that the Western region voting bloc is very important to the Azimio team.
Is part of Azimio, really. And I think with the leadership in the Western region who have been part of Azimio, we are not worried at all. Oparanya and his team is very strong in the Western region. We have Ochtichilo in Vihiga, and we have Busia intact. The only contested ground really is Bungoma, where there's been some presence of UDA there, as you know. But that is a battleground that we are going to enter, and we shall win, definitely. Looking at our past relations with people in Bungoma and the strength that ODM has enjoyed in Bungoma, I really don't think that we have any reason to worry, really. Now, what is good is that the picture is now very clear where Mudavadi stands. So now that he has defined himself definitely where he stands, it makes the struggle clearer. You know, from the second liberation, we like things which are clear, boundaries which are clear, and from those boundaries can now strategize realistically.
Yeah. Governor Ongwae, now they say that the fate lies in Kalonzo's hands. Is it true? That's what they're saying, that this is on the Standard here.
I'm not sure about that, because when you argue like that, then you start from this presumption that the two who left Western have actually taken Western with them. And that's why I would want to agree with what my colleague, the governor from Kisumu, is saying, that for me, what happened in Western is probably the best thing that should have happened, especially this period, as we have about 6-7 months to the elections, so that the people in Western can actually make positive decisions. And for my brother, I called him yesterday and I told him that that's the best thing that ever happened. My brother, the governor of Kakamega. Yeah. Because those governors there, the governor for Busia, they are in charge. The governor for Vihiga, remember that the Right Honourable Prime Minister, even when Mudavadi was standing, the Right Honourable Prime Minister was just next to him there in terms of the votes that were given out. In Kakamega, our candidate is the candidate for Azimio is very, very strong. So this is good. In my own opinion, if I was making a judgment, I would say that this is good.
Why is it good?
The fact that we knew where Mudavadi was heading and where he is now, where Wetangula is right now, is very good, even in terms of making serious substantive decisions.
But what does this mean for the One Kenya Alliance, for example, Kalonzo Musyoka and Gideon Moi? Do you then have to make sure that they come to your side, or whichever side they choose, it still doesn't matter?
I think it would be positive if they moved to the side of Azimio. But even if they do not move, politics is the art of the possible. And I see, when you look at the numbers, I see that it's possible to get those numbers. Our candidate should get his numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Governor Nyong'o, are you concerned about the next move for One Kenya Alliance, for example, what Kalonzo Musyoka would do?
Kalonzo Musyoka, we've worked with for a long time. And of course, one must expect that he will exercise his best judgment in the current situation. I would say that rather than asking me whether I'm worried, the best question to ask me whether I'm confident that no matter what move he makes, we still will go ahead with Azimio la Umoja. But of course, an addition of student Kalonzo Musyoka in our camp would be welcome. But at this point in time, you only count the chickens which are in the pen rather than those who are outside. And those in the pen must be solidified, must expand the boundaries of Azimio la Umoja. Whether somebody moves in or not, that arena for the struggle for political liberation in eastern part of Kenya is still our territory.
All right. So I want us to move into this discussion now and get away from that and talk about the race to State House, what's happening right now. And Governor Ongwae, I'll start with you. So we are holding an election at a time when the economy is in really bad shape. You have run a county for the last 9 years now. Where should the next president start?
I think the next president must start with, first of all, ensuring that he brings Kenyans together, de-escalate the political temperatures, and also, most importantly, I don't think the next president has any option. He has to put in place he or she has to put in place a stimulus program. Yeah. And that's why our candidate keeps on talking about the 6,000 shillings per month. Is actually a stimulus program, because you are looking at 12 billion shillings that is being injected into the economy. This money will go into supporting the people at the rural level, kiosks, people are going to spend this money at the rural level. And many other programs that I suspect that our candidate has got in place, the Azimio candidate has got in place. And you can see even the other candidates also have programs that they are talking about, which are stimulus related. So that's why I'm saying that first, de-escalate the political temperatures, ensure that we are together, we are united as a country, which is what Azimio talks about. Then secondly, stimulate the economy. Completely stimulate this economy, shock it so that you can have an economy that is starting to vibrate. I think that's what you will need so that what we have in this country at the moment, the low self-esteem and so on that you are seeing in our own people, then can be managed. Yeah.
Governor Nyong'o, is that where to begin? Because you also run a county, and I wanted you to give this national approach. So the next president, where should the next president begin?
I think Governor Ongwae is right, straight to the point. And one of the things that the next president must really look into is public service. I think one of the reasons why we have had problems during the last 10 years is that because of the disconnect in the Jubilee government between the president and the deputy president, and the civil service, which was kind of divided between two heads of government, the civil service is really not performing as a unit where they're pulling together, the services pulling together in one direction. And the president has, over the last couple of years since the handshake, tried as much as possible to get things moving. And where they don't move, he has called in the military to come and push development. Now, of course, that was good because the country must move. And where the military has intervened, like here in the port, they've done a wonderful job. But that doesn't really excuse us from having a functioning and professional public service, which is very important. Now, you know, the national government is more than 50 years old now. The county governments are hardly 80 years old. But even here, we are trying to make sure that we have a professional public service that can run the county. It has not been very easy under our circumstances, but I think the governors have done very well. And the COG, we meet very frequently to compare notes and discuss what needs to be done. The public service boards in counties work. I think this is something that is going to be extremely important for the next president, to make the architecture of the public service in both the counties and the national government work well, professionally and productively.
Governor Nyong'o, what are the loopholes in the public service that you wish would be fixed in the next government?
Well, first corruption, really. I mean, I think the Ndegwa Commission of 1972 is now too far in the past, but the negative impact of the public service, I think. But at that point in time, the reason was that this is the elite, they have the money, why can't we give them the latitude to invest? But then the rules of managing the implementation of the Ndegwa Commission were rather vague. And therefore, over time, the public service has exploited that aperture in the public service. That's not worked very well for the country. So I think it's something that we in the Azimio la Umoja will have to sit down very seriously and craft something that will work. I think under the NAC government, with a spirit of reform, you saw the public service really delivering. And under the coalition government too, but even then, the professionality in the public service, especially in the parastatals, was wanting. And I think that is something that the next government will have to focus on. And they are not, it's not rocket science to do it. You can go the extreme way of Jerry Rawlings and shoot on the beach. Those who are most corrupt warn the others. But I think that's a rather extreme. Something must be done, one, to stamp out corruption, and two, to bring professionalism and public service mentality in the civil service.
Yeah. Governor Ongwae, so what does that take? Does it mean we need to get new people, or is it a matter of fixing the structures of the public service? Because there are some people who say corruption is planned from the onset.
I think what a reasonable government to do is you rationalize government. There must be a complete rationalization of government, both at the organizational level and at the individual level. And this rationalization would also involve looking at even the utilization of resources. A lot of resources are actually being utilized as consumption, especially in developing economies and developing governments. A lot of resources are used in consumption areas, or what they call the recurrent budget. Yeah. You probably would need to completely rationalize government. I remember when some of us were working in government and some of us were in charge. In fact, at one time I was program director of the Kenya Civil Service Reform Program. Yeah. At that time, as part of the wider argument under the structural adjustment program, government was rationalized to a level where you reduced numbers tremendously. I do recall that in those days the service was reduced, but in a very gentle manner through people agreeing themselves to move on, what they were calling the voluntary retirement program. Yeah. But that is just part of it. You want to look at consumption areas that need to be reduced. Yeah. You also want to look at the whole area of performance. Yeah. Probably look at performance management in its broader sense. I do remember when Anyang' Nyong'o were in government and when the Prime Minister was there, that I think was a time that we had the highest levels of performance, because performance contracting, which was then under the Prime Minister's office, was actually working. It was working very well. Performance management, both at the organizational level where clear targets were set for the organizations, and also at the individual level where the performance appraisal system was working was working very well.
Yeah.
That, I think, during this other government, during the last 10 years, you've seen the whole area of performance management, they ignored it, with the terrible consequences that you are seeing right now. At the individual level, the issue of training, the issue of capacity building, the issue of even looking, the issue that you talked about, corruption. Corruption, it takes two to tango. I mean, you have the civil servants and you have our brothers and sisters out there, from those of us who are from outside, those who may not be working.
Yeah.
So they missed an opportunity in having a national conversation.
Yeah.
If you go to the south, to the countries in Asia and other areas, like the Singapores, the Malaysias of this world, there was a serious national conversation on the area of corruption, where there is a complete national agreement. Everybody agrees that this is the way that we are going. So there are issues that are new government, especially the Azimio government, and we all know of the candidates that are standing. We know which candidates would actually be serious on corruption, which ones would not be serious on corruption matters. So the type of policies that the new government would put in place must be broad-based, must be policies that are looking at the economy, must be policies that are looking at the performance of public servants, must be policies that are also rejuvenating even the spirit, the nationalism that we have always had as Kenyans, because with that rejuvenation, then you start increasing a lot of other things. So this is an area that one would really discuss and take a long time to discuss. But it is doable.
Yes. Governor Nyong'o, there are those who argue that devolution itself is where another problem was, because governors like yourselves formed another tier of government with the same replica of people appointed under different categories. There's a Minister of Agriculture on the National Assembly, on the national government, and then there's a Minister of Agriculture in the devolved units as well. Do you see some level of duplication in the roles, and can they be merged and streamlined better?
That's a terrible interpretation of devolution, by the way. Devolution means that power is dispersed and centers of decision-making are also devolved so that government can work more efficiently. The fact that there's a ministry, a Department of Agriculture in my government, and a Ministry of Agriculture in the national government is clearly stated in the Schedule 4 of the Constitution, which states the division of labor between the two levels of government. The functions that the county government perform and the functions that national government perform. And if people really understand those functions and use resources to perform that functions, government will be very productive and efficient. Because in the previous regime, the Moi regime and so on, where power was concentrated in the center, there was nothing happening in the grassroots. You know, I remember I was member of parliament with Kisumu Rural for more than 10 years. And there was something called the District Development Committee, where only Jobo Mino and myself as members of parliament from the Kisumu district belonged, together with 37 other civil servants. That district development committee met twice a year. One, the first time to decide how much money had come from the national government to be used in the districts and what's going to be done. The last time is for the PC to tell you what has been done. And I tell you, in my constituency, Kisumu Rural, for all the time I was in that committee, there was only one project that was always done, a fish pond without fish. So I really think that thinking that devolution is question of functions, devolution is a devolving of functions so government can work more efficiently and accountably to the grassroots. And indeed, if enough resources are given to the counties and counties use it effectively, you see the results. I see it here in Kisumu County, something I never saw all the time. I was in Bunge for so many years. And I think devolution has brought a dividend to the development in this nation. What we need to do is to make sure the implementation of Schedule 4 of the Constitution is well done. For example, there are functions which will be done by counties now, which are still being done by the national government. In the road sector, for example, all the use of having Kenya Roads Development Board, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, when the rural roads, as it were, are a function of devolved government, this is what my friend, His Excellency Ongwae, is saying. Now you just create centers of bureaucracy, largely for rent seeking, really, because people want somewhere where they can give contracts and discuss with contractors how much they can get when they give these contracts. It's a function really that should belong to the counties and to be done effectively and efficiently. And I think that what needs to be done really, as was in both in the NAC government and the coalition government, there are institutions that can be established in the national government, which will be both effective and useful, both to the national government and the county government. For example, the National Economic and Social Council was a council that looked at development as a whole, advised ministries at very low cost and very efficiently, so that things can be done well according to the development plan that we had put in place. By the way, President Mike Kibaki was very particular about this. He listened to advice, took advice, and advised his ministers accordingly, so that there was harmony and directional movement in government, not some people keeping aside when some moved forward.
All right. Governor, is that where the solution lies, in ensuring all the functions go to the county governments and the money follows it as well?
I think you would look at it much broader than that. The county governments, there can't be anything better than what has happened under devolution. The positions that you are talking about, the bureaucratization and the increase in numbers through that bureaucratization and so on, I think, Trevor, you are not right. Because the positions that were created at the devolved level, at the subnational level, were positions at the executive level, and they were not many. Most of the staff that we found that were working in ministries of agriculture at the local level are the ones that are still there. Those that were working in local authorities are the ones that are still there. Remember that local authorities are not there. So what we did do is when we went in, I'll give you my own example. When I went in, the only thing I did is I brought in the ministers and the chief officers. And you are talking about close to 30 or 40 people that came in. All the other staff were staff that we found there. We only restructured, and I think that is what happened in most counties. They restructured them. But I do tend to agree with what the governor for Kisumu is saying. And that's why I said the new president must rationalize government. Those functions that are done at both two levels of government, those ones, a serious decision would have to be made. I know that the people at the center, especially the bureaucrats at the center, don't want to let go certain functions for reasons, especially if you want to have most of the resources at the center, so that those resources then can be used in a manner that doesn't make sense. And you saw it even with issues that related to water. I mean, water, the whole area of water is devolved, but you would see what the national government was actually doing in areas that relate to water. So the way I see it is that the new president would have to completely make a serious substantive decision. And I will tell you that devolution as it is, and as my colleague has just said, is the best thing that happened to this country. Because if you go to the countryside, I don't know which county you come from, but Trevor, if you go to the countryside and you see what devolution has done, is unbelievable. It wouldn't have happened. And you want to think that if after independence, if we had actually gone the devolution way, this country would be very far.
All right. I want to take a quick break on Daybreak. When you come back, I see some of your questions coming through. We'll talk about the voter registration coming up in just a bit. Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Daybreak. We're back shortly.